everyone, I'm Kelly Huang. I'm the video content manager here at 75F, and I'm going to explain to you how we run a webcast here at 75F. This is a two-part video. The first part will explain the setup with all the cameras and hardware, and the second part will run through our workflow using GoToWebinar to run our webcasts. And I will try my best to not ramble on. Okay, let's get started. So here's our setup at 75F. This is actually our lobby, and we're using it as our webcast studio. And since we don't expect many visitors, it's a perfect setting for it. Not only because it's big enough, but also we have a gorgeous moss wall as our backdrop. So our setup is the basic 2-camera setup and 3-point lighting. The equipment that we're using are Canon C100s, and the lights are bi-color LED lights. And I will also list all of our equipment down below and also in the blog. The presenters you see are about like 6 feet away from the backdrop, so you have a nice separation between the backdrop and the presenter, and also so that camera 1, which is our wide angle, can see the full moss wall. So like I said before, we're using Canon C100s. One is a Mark II and one is the Mark I, and for no reason at all other than our budget. So camera 1 is the wide angle, so we're using our widest lens that I have is the Sigma 18 to 35 millimeter 1.8 lens, and it's a perfect lens for all the wide shots. And camera 2, we're using the basic Canon 35 to 105 millimeter lens, and this angle is a medium close-up side profile angle, which is really nice to take a second shot for our webcast. Now we're gonna move on, and I'm going to explain our setup at the director's table. So this is the director's table. This is where all the magic happens. I'm gonna go left to right so I can keep organized within my thoughts of all the things I'm gonna show you and talk about. So on the very far left is our camera 3, basically. This is where I hook it up through HDMI to the switcher, and this is where I play all our video packages and our PowerPoint slides so that I can switch back and forth between camera and showing a graphic. This computer here I call the Webcast computer because this is where I am hosting and running the live webcasts. This computer, which is my computer, I call it the live webcast monitor because I enter in the webcast through this computer and view the live program of our webcast so I can see and hear what all the audience are also seeing and hearing, so I can just monitor if anything goes wrong, and then I would know. Behind this computer is our preview monitor. The feed is coming out of the switcher, basically showing you what camera 1, 2, and 3 is so that I can preview and take the camera shots that I need. And then here is the Roland Video 1 HD HDMI video switcher, which basically is the game changer to all of this. And then we have the Behringer X-Air 12 mixer. This is a 12-channel mixer, but we really have only like 1 to 3 audio inputs at a time. There were ones where we brought in 2 guests and we had 3 mics going, and it worked really well with this mixer. This mixer is Wi-Fi capable, so I hook up to the mixers and control the mixer through a Samsung tablet, and I connect through its Wi-Fi here, and I can mute and unmute and change levels for our presenters. So now I'm going to explain how we sort of hook up and use the switcher. So we normally only have 3 camera inputs coming in. Camera 1 is the wide angle, camera 2 is the medium close-up angle, and camera 3 is the computer with the PowerPoint presentation. And here are the audio inputs that we bring in from the Behringer X-Air. So really what we use here are different transitions that we use: the mix, the cut, and the wipe. Mostly we're using mix and cut. Mix is basically a fade. We've just recently started using effects. In our last webcast, we brought in a graphic and had a picture-in-picture for a camera to be on top of a graphic. So that was really cool. Okay, so this is what the switcher application on the computer looks like. So once you have the switcher connected through a USB onto your computer, you can just click the connection here, and it brings in basically all the settings that you'd see on the switcher itself. But you see a little bit more with all the effects, transitions, and the audio mixer. So you can see here through HDMI, which is input 3 for camera 3 computer, I have the levels up since I'm bringing in video packages so that we can have audio levels for the video. You can kind of see these levels kind of happening here because the mic that goes through the Behringer is right here. And I can speak to it here, and you can see that this would basically be the presenter's audio mic. So camera 3, like I mentioned, is using an HDMI output and the HDMI input into the Roland mixer. So you can see here, the aspect ratio compared to camera 1 and 2 is different because I use the display settings on the MacBook and brought the underscan all the way as far as I can, so that basically the screen is shrunken, and so when I take camera 3, you'll see the full screen. And the reason behind that is that GoToWebinar, when you are going live with it, it actually crops your video input. And I don't know why GoToWebinar does that. And if any of you know, please tell me, because it really bothers me. But this sort of mitigates it by bringing the underscan up as far as you can by shrinking the screen a little bit, so that when you are viewing the full presentation in PowerPoint, you can actually see all of it through on GoToWebinar, and it doesn't crop your footage. And lastly, to help the presenters give their best webcasts, with the live computer monitor that I have, since I'm already in the webcast as an audience member, I also will cast it onto that TV right there through an HDMI connection. And that way the presenter can view the live broadcast, and they can see also the other panelists that have joined remotely and kind of speak to them by seeing their faces on the TV. This really helps the presenter keeps their eye line level to the camera so that they're not continuously looking down at their computer the entire presentation at their PowerPoint slides. It really helps just nice audience interaction if they have like more eye contact to the camera, and it just looks better. It also helps me as a director too, because if the presenter has forgotten to say something within the webcast, I will bring up a Word document and type in like a shouty note towards them so that they can remember to mention something during the broadcast. And that concludes our part 1 on how we run our webcast. Stay tuned for part 2 on where I explain how we use GoToWebinar and our setup to run a smooth webcast here at 75F. Thanks for watching.